Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. There's something about this system that we use to broadcast this. About every 15th, 17th, 20th show, I start the show and I get nothing on the screen. And then, bizarrely, it all kicks into it's weird. I don't know if there's a lag or whether it's just people are a bit slow arriving. No idea. But good morning, Dan Cullen, who says, good morning. Oh, you sweaty ass crack plant porn addicts. Well, if you've got a sweaty ass crack, you're not alone because, yes. And plant porn addicts, you're in the right place. And seat fillers as well. Christopher, morning, gang. I don't know whether I was baked or fried yesterday at Hillhead. I would imagine a bit of both. Bit of both. Crispy on the outside today, are we, Chris? I'm not surprised. In actual fact, we are going to start the show today with a bit of a recap of all things Hillhead. I'll be bringing that to you in just a moment. Despite all I said yesterday, we did have the camera out. It was up and about. So I'll be bringing that to you in a moment. Andy Thornton is warm. It's warm. It is. Do you know the funny thing, though? I put off going to bed last night because I was sure I was going to just lay there sweating and cursing that I couldn't get to sleep. Had the window wide open. I slept right by it. Got in bed, laid there and thought, it's warm. And then it was morning. It was no problem at all. Maybe I was just tired from Hillhead, my Hillhead exertions. Right, okay, let's show you a thing. I've not even got it on the screen yet. Bear with me 1 second. I've got to pull this up here. Here we go. It is a Mini Excavator World Cup time again, and today's match pits Komatsu of Japan against Sani of China. Which one would you prefer? You're spending your own money. Which one would you prefer? I know which one I prefer, but that's not me making the decision. But there you are. There's a banner to remind you. So if you would prefer Sani, just put Sani in the chat, SANY. If you'd prefer Komatsu, put Komatsu in the chat, KOMATSU, Komatsu. Please take part. We'd love to hear from you. Something's just arrived. Yeah, we've had somebody. Well, we've had a couple of people already voting one way. Dan saying I was stuck to my bed. Yeah, it was a bit like that. Funnily enough, I came down this morning to put the finishing touches to this, and I was just sat in a pair of shorts, didn't have a top on, and I've got it's not leather, but I've got a plastic seat, and it had to be peeled off a few hours ago. Yeah, not good at all. But we are apparently. I don't know whether she's actually checked the location of this, but my wife reckons that there is a 5-hour thunderstorm on its way. Now that may well be here. It may well be up north. It may well be in the Philippines because she gets her news from Facebook, and frankly, it's not to be relied upon. But apparently, there is a thunderstorm headed this way. I completely missed the thunderstorm in London the other day because I was up in Buxton. Passed us by completely. Would have quite liked to have seen that. I do like me a thunderstorm. Anyway, people, we've got a load to get through today. So without further ado, how about we get this show on the road with a bit of... Oh, where's the thing gone? Here we go. It is Thursday, the 25th of June. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition, the Lord High Chancellor of live streaming, the authentic voice of the global demolition industry. In today's show, we're going to bring you some Hillhead highlights. And we've got some special edition Hyundais from America and Kobelco doubling down under. And in today's episode of Mark's Morning Monologue, Minecraft is not the answer. Now, if you were here yesterday, you will know that we... kind of broke an embargo yesterday to talk about this House of Commons committee report that suggests the way to encourage children into the built environment, demolition, construction, and so on, is to get them to play The Sims, Minecraft, and Assassin's Creed. I had a lot to say about it yesterday. Got a lot more to say about it today. Be doing that. And the annoying thing is, I've got another morning monologue that I wrote while I was up in Buxton. I'm really quite pleased with it, but I've put it off. I put it off yesterday. I'm putting it off today as well. I'll try to do that one tomorrow, but we've got loads of stuff to get through today. What have we got going on over in the chat? Jim Turner has just arrived. Mark Whiting is here as well. Good morning from a sunny Wakefield. Mr. Norton is here as well. And Dan Cullen says, yes, I love a thunderstorm too. Watching it for 3 hours. Remember we saw one, we were in Spain, in Calpe, on the coast, and all hell broke out at sea. Massive thunderstorm. But we were sat. It was raining, but not much. But out at sea, you could watch this lightning display. It's like the best firework display you've ever seen. Absolutely fantastic. And Dan saying, "Yeah, that's complete madness." Well, it gets even madder when you get into it. But we'll come to that in just a moment. But don't forget, we have our mini excavator World Cup show match today. Komatsu versus Sani. We've already had quite a few votes in the same direction. You can probably guess which one it is. But yes, keep those votes coming in. And while you're doing that, I'm going to do this. Dan has just said this. I never knew they had a Manager of the Year awards. Who is they? Who is this they of which you speak, Dan? I don't know who that is. But yeah, I mean, there are awards for like Demolition Manager of the Year and stuff, but I'd love to know who that one is about. Just very quickly, I've had a press release this morning. You know, when I went to see the JCB Hydromax testing up at RAF Wittering a week and a bit ago, at the time, the car topped out at 188 miles an hour. It's a kind of a slow build up to the proper job. We saw it at 188, I think. It's now done 208, and apparently the testing is going very well. The car is off to Bonneville in the not too distant future. Keep an eye on that one. I put it on there, says Dan. Put it on where? Put it on where? Does he put it in the WhatsApp group? Oh, yes. Okay. It's in the WhatsApp group. Okay. Housing Developers Northampton Site Manager named as one of the UK's best. Okay. I'll have a look at that. But yes, no, they do that. And it's not just national awards either. I know a lot of the major contractors, the tier ones, and some of the developers offer awards and incentives for best manager, best labourer, best operative, and best idea and stuff like that. I think this is to be encouraged. Anyway, we've just had that. We talked a lot about Hillhead yesterday. Not all of it positive, but there were positives. One of the biggest positives, obviously, was the weather. One of the second biggest positives was just the sheer volume of the big name manufacturers there. So we've pieced together a bit of a highlight. Now, I'm going to do a longer film on Hillhead. I'm aiming for another half an hour special. Don't know when I'm going to be able to get it done, but I'll keep you posted on all of that. But this is my highlight reel from Hillhead. So there you are. That was Hillhead, as I say, longer film to come. I can now see why what Dan was talking about. Excuse me. A guy called Neil Edwards has won an award, Manager of the Year. It's a Neil Edwards. It's not the Neil Edwards. It's not the one of this parish. Neil has actually left the business, left the industry entirely. He's now working, I think, for the Coast Guard. He's like head of watch or something like that. A terrible loss, I think. All that expertise and all that understanding of the industry. And yes, it's been left to go to rack and ruin. Dan asked, were there any Sumitomo's there? Not a Sumitomo stand, but I did spot one. There was one on the Encon stand, maybe 2 or 3 stands down from JCB. Just kind of sat there on its own with an Encon on it, but there was one there. Faster on that JCB, and that wasn't speeded up. That was genuine. Had some more votes on our mini excavator World Cup. Morning, everyone. This is Andy Darvell. Machine has just had its daily drink of diesel and AdBlue, ready to throw more muck into trucks. Fantastic stuff. And Dan, good video. Thank you very much indeed. Mostly my own work. The drone work was Fred. Everything else was me. And when we do the longer version, that will be mainly me as well. I just have to say that because people think he is the doyen of all things plant video. I mean, he kind of is, but I'm trying to keep up. Back after this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Now, I realize none of us likely are American. There's probably a few Americans watching over on Instagram. In fact, yes, there are. I can see them right now. We've no Americans in our usual gang. But be honest, wouldn't you love one of these?
Hey, this is Corey Rogers. I'm the VP of Marketing over at National Equipment Dealers, one of Hyundai's largest dealers in North America. And I am standing next to the famous...
I don't know about that.
Known as Mr. Dig on YouTube, Ryan Williams.
Hey, everybody.
Ryan owns Full Circle Aggregates. Part of his group of companies is Atomic Sand, and that's where we are today.
We're at today. It's a beautiful day here in Beach Island, South Carolina, but not as pretty as the machines behind me.
Pretty amazing scene right behind us. We're excited about America's 250-year birthday, and that is part of the reason we've got these 2 machines wrapped the way they are. They're designated as America 250, and one of the coolest things we're doing is we're giving to a great charity.
Yes.
All the proceeds above our cost are going to go to a charity, and we're taking the highest offer as we speak.
Yep, and that's going to go to TAPS, which is the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, which helps families of fallen soldiers. So great charity, and awesome job on you guys for doing that.
Thank you, man. Well, it's been a tremendous opportunity to be able to wrap these machines, work in collaboration with Mr. Dig and with Hyundai. We're also giving National Equipment Dealers, for every new Hyundai that we sell in the month of June through July 4th, we're donating money as well to that same charity.
Awesome.
So, reach out to your National Equipment Dealer salesperson if you're interested in learning more about this program or the charity or this offer for these 2 units. You can also go to our website at www.ned.us and you'll find information there. We also have an HD 100 Hyundai Dozer that will be wrapped, and we'll be putting more information about that out on our social media. If you're interested in Mr. Dig, he's got a fantastic channel. Get out there and follow his content. He's involved in just about every aspect of earth moving and
a little bit of everything, recycling and trash and you name it, we're in it.
Very, very cool channel, so definitely reach out and subscribe to his channel. And we'll be back to you with more great content about these 2 machines and some future information later in the week.
Sounds great. Appreciate you guys.
That is quite the paint job, right? Dan says, wow, that looks cool. Pity we don't do something like that here. We missed a trick there, didn't we? I'll come back to that thought in just a second. Obviously, Hillhead took place in the midst of the World Cup, and I went along expecting there to be lots of football shirts and maybe football competitions. I spotted one. Miller had some footballs on the stand, and they were messing about with that. I think for the Lighthouse Club, which is fantastic. Hats off to Miller. I know they're a big supporter of the Lighthouse Club, but didn't see much else. And when you think we've just got a couple of years ago, we got a new king. Could we not have had some kingly type, some royal excavators to mark the arrival of a new monarch for the first time in 70 odd years? Surely it's a marketing opportunity missed there. Compared to us reserved Brits, the Americans never appear camera shy, always delivering with aplomb. Yeah, I don't know if I've still got him here. Have I still got him? No, I don't think I have. No, unfortunately, I don't have him anymore. I met a guy up in Eskilstuna a couple of years ago, an American YouTuber, DJ Goham, and while we were having dinner, he was quite quiet and unassuming. You know, he's big into sort of farm simulator gaming content and that kind of thing. Very, very quiet. You know, nice guy, but quite quiet, quite reserved. And I said, look, you know, I'd love to get you on the channel. Could you do me a very quick thing where you say, "Hi, I'm DJ Goham, and you're watching the Breakfast Show"? And he said, "Yeah, sure, I can do that." Pointed a camera at him, and he came to life. "Hi, I'm DJ Goham." Jesus Christ, where did that come from? But yeah, but a nice guy, all that being said. And not many take that much pride and wrap their machines like that. No, sadly not. I wish more did. Malcolm Dyke is back. Good morning, Malcolm. Are you enjoying your Bobcat hat? That's the question. Good morning. Another hot one. Yes, it is very, very warm. I mean, this is the lightest hat that I own, and I'm sweating like a dead donkey under this. Andy Darvell, America just does it different. They love it. They do. And I like that. I do like that. I think the Scots have got a bit of that, but maybe a little bit less after last night's result. I think the Scots kind of kicked them or shot themselves in the foot once and then shot themselves in the foot again, gave away two very simple goals and lost to Brazil 3-0. No shame in that. Brazil are a very good team, but the Scots are very proud, aren't they? Very patriotic, and I kind of like that about them. And they managed to do it without appearing to be racist. Us English, you know, we fly a flag and that has connotations. When did that become a thing? We'll come back to that. We're going down under with Kobelco. Just a second.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
No sign of Gary at the moment. I'm fairly sure his anniversary is coming up. I don't know if he's taking the time off for that or to get away. I can't actually remember, but if I don't see him tomorrow, I'll send out a search party. It's time to say good day to Kobelco.
My name's Kane Bennett. I'm the Managing Director of the Melbourne Tractors Group. We've been a Kobelco dealer since 2007. This is our flagship branch in Somerton, Victoria. In 2007, the opportunity came up to become a full-line Kobelco dealership. My dad was dealing closely with the Japanese, bringing in used equipment, and had a great relationship with them. So I believe he was the first phone call, and the answer was a very, very enthusiastic yes.
Kobelco has got such a great reputation for reliability and for fuel economy. And also what we're finding customers telling us, it's got the latest features, but still very simple to use as well. So when you put all that together as a package, when people get into a Kobelco, it's very hard to get them out of one. One of the great things about the Kobelco product is the size of the cabin and the roominess of the cabin, which means that it really is tailor-made for any size operator. The owner doesn't have to be too concerned about who's using the machine because they know they're going to have a comfortable experience which will lead them to being very productive.
The servicing of the machine is obviously a big advantage to us. We keep our pricing competitive. It enables us to visit the machine and keep the servicing up to date. Having a good service package reduces downtime on the machine. We know the reliability of the machine. We spend all of our time in the servicing side of it, and that promotes the longevity of the machine. Kobelco are constantly innovating new product and we see that coming through, adapting to the market. I think one of the great things of working with Kobelco is, as an Australian dealer, we get a seat at the table. We visit the factory regularly. We get to put our input in there and the engineers in the factory are listening to that. So there's new product coming, new product adapting. The market in Victoria has been subdued over the last couple of years, but Victoria's such a great state with such great prospects. We're very excited to grow with the state as it goes, and the next 5 years I think will be a really exciting time for all of us.
It's been an exciting time to be with Kobelco. Here at Melbourne Tractors, we've got Kobelco to #1 in the heavy range of machines, and that's something that's built up over a long period of time. We've topped that off with, in 2025, Melbourne Tractors was named the Kobelco Service Dealer of the Year. A powerful combination top-level service backed by great machines.
I am with Andy Dalvell, Kobelco High Reaches. They've just got it right. Lovely machines to operate straight from the factory. Well done indeed. Chris Monks has just arrived. Morning, Chris. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Delighted to have you amongst us. Tickets, Tests and Tantrums. That's the name of his podcast. As you saw Chris on here a few weeks ago. How are you keeping, Chris? Hope you're all fit and well. Has there ever been any update on the Hino engine they were using? Have they moved to Kobelco? Don't know the answer to that. Not actually had much to do with Kobelco of late. About time I caught up with them. That's a good reminder, Dan. Thank you very much indeed for that. It's time to find out who has won today's round of the Mini Excavator World Cup. I think this is going to be a fairly cut and dried one, but I'm going to throw it up on the screen just to show it. There we are. That is the poll. Was it going to be Sani or was it going to be Komatsu? If I stop it, we'll find out the answer. Komatsu, 100%. Another whitewash. I think the whitewashes are going to start to subside. We've got one more match. I mean, today's match obviously was China against Japan. Tomorrow's is the same because we've got Yanmar against Sunward. But I think once we go into the next round where you've got matches including Hitachi and Kubota, Kobelco and New Holland, Case and Volvo, I think they could be a little bit tighter. So look out for that. We'll be back with more of that tomorrow. What's just happened in the chat? They should have a podcast called Good Day Diggers. They should. Or they could license this and I could just sit back and watch the money roll in or something. Very sensible that Kobelco reserves a seat at their table for dealerships like Melbourne Tractors. Yes, it is indeed. I have to say very quickly, I didn't have a lot of time with them, but bumped into a couple of the guys from McHale Komatsu up at Hillhead. I mean, I've not noticed the change between Marabini and McHale. I think they've handled the transition very, very easily, very smoothly. And they seem like real enthusiasts. You know, it was some stands you go on at an exhibition and there's people milling about, talking to each other. Went on there and it's like, can I help you? You know, come and have a look at this. Brilliant. And Dan saying, howdy, Andy 1 and howdy, Andy 2. Yes, many, many Andys about the place. Right, okay. That pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro. Yes, I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. And while you're about it, stay hydrated because I do want to see you again. And I don't want anyone going beak down. So lots of water, little and often, please, people. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll be back in just a moment after this. In the early hours of this morning, the news embargo was lifted on a press release from the House of Lords Built Environment Committee. That press release claims that young people not only care deeply about the places around them, but they also have much to contribute to shaping them. The statement goes on to say that the systems that educate young people, engage with them, and listen to them remain fragmented and uneven. Quelle surprise. So what was their proposed solution? How do they plan to attract, inspire, and retain the next generation of demolition and construction professionals? Are they going to insist upon the reintroduction of vocational skills at school level and a move away from the everyone must go to university mantra? Are they suggesting a national academy to take the brightest and the most practical young people and to fast-track them into the industry? Are they going to work with demolition and construction companies to help them engage with and inspire young people from their local communities? Are they going to take a more pragmatic stance on industry exhibitions and events that currently prohibit children from attending? The answer in each instance is no. They're doing none of those things. In fact, if the press statement is anything to go by, none of those seemingly sensible ideas was ever even on the table. So how then do they plan to address this deep and worsening skills crisis. They want to encourage children to play video games like Minecraft, The Sims, or Assassin's Creed, which are increasingly, apparently, young people's first introduction into the themes of world building, construction and design, and have become a pathway into the wider built environment sector. Right. We'll get into the meat of all this in just a second, but permit me, if you will, to point out what I believe to be a fundamental flaw in this cunning plan. Mario Kart is one of the most popular video games in history. More than 70 million copies of Mario Kart 8 were sold around the world. And yet we only have one Lewis Hamilton, one Lando Norris. Call of Duty allows people to live out their military fantasies, shooting up and blowing up everything from Nazis and commies to terrorists and zombies. Has that swollen the queues at the Army, Navy, and Air Force recruitment offices? And forgive me for being churlish here, but has anyone considered these 2 points? If a kid is really good at Minecraft, the chances are that their career path will take them into computer coding rather than onto a dirty demolition site. And also, we've had Lego for decades. Actual, physical, tactile building blocks. That's done nothing to solve our skill shortage. So why are we expecting a digital version to suddenly fix the problem? We've been down this road before. For more than a decade, the sector's been highlighting the similarities between controlling a character or a vehicle using a gaming controller and operating an excavator. It's a good story, and it's kind of rooted in truth. It also helps the industry feel down with the kids. But it's done nothing to turn the heads of modern youth. And yet here we are again. There is, it seems, a significant disconnect between what young people do on their computers and games consoles and what they then choose to do as a career. But the bigger and broader issue is this. Some of the most powerful people in the land have looked at the UK construction skill shortage and they've abdicated responsibility for fixing it to the parents of children who like video games. That's not a fix. That's not even a sticking plaster. It's an edict handed down from an ivory tower by a bunch of individuals who have likely never set foot on a demolition or construction site and who have probably never played a video game either. And one of the things they failed to grasp here is that the job market is a competition for talent. While tech companies offer young people air-conditioned offices, subsidised restaurants and a cool-sounding job title, demolition and construction companies come with any luck, you won't be killed. This problem is not a novelty. This sector has been mired in a skills crisis for as long as any of us can remember. And there's always someone else to blame. Contractors blame the schools for failing to focus on vocational skills. The schools blame the government for its insistence upon university. I will get this right. The schools blame the government for its insistence upon university education for all, even for those who aren't even remotely academically minded. And now the government, well, the House of Lords, wants to offload this onto parents, encouraging them to sign up to a Minecraft server and hope that little Johnny picks it up and runs with it. Ultimately, this latest plan from the House of Lords merely underlines the marked disconnect between the powers that be and those that live and breathe this every single day. So fine, feel free, go ahead and encourage children to play creative and constructive video games. But if you think that's going to solve the construction skills crisis, you're even more detached from the real world than those playing Assassin's Creed. There you are. Bang goes me getting another title, apart from Arsehole of the Year. Let me turn the banner off because we've got that one resolved. Let me go over to the comments. What have we got in the comments? Lee Mansfield is here. Good morning, mate. Good morning to you, my friend. Thank you very much indeed for being here. What real chance have we in attracting more Gen Z into construction fragmented training, fragmented training, outdated culture, low trust, high risk, poor communication? Yeah. Well, Mick, according to the grandees of the country, none of that matters. Just get kids to play Minecraft. And that they can spend hour upon hour, week after week, coding to create the world that they want. And at the end of it, they're going to think, well, I've enjoyed creating an imaginary world. I think it's best if I go and pick up a trowel and do this in real life. Or perhaps they'll say to somebody, I'm really good at computer coding, been doing it for years. I'd like to do that for a living, please. And I've not seen a recent copy of Assassin's Creed, but I do believe the clue is in the title. Assassin's Creed is basically a video game about assassins. Yes, there's quite a lot of architecture in there. There is a lot of architecture in there. But I wonder how many children are sat there trying to kill their enemy in a computer game, thinking, oh, what a magnificent cathedral. I wonder if I could build one of those. There was an attempt a few years ago, not dissimilar to this. Fairly sure it was a CITB, but don't hold me to it. But I'm fairly sure it was. And the basic plan was this: they were going to pay a bunch of Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok influencers to promote careers in the construction industry, but they weren't actually using influencers from the industry. They were using, I mean, I may be making this up, but I did tell somebody this once and it stuck in my head. They were basically, there's a girl that does makeup tutorials. Put a hard hat on her and say, this is how I do my smoky eyeshadow, and this is my favorite lipstick. Oh, by the way, have you considered a career in demolition? Chris Monk says we are doomed. We are doomed. They're doing the same to our industry as they are to farming. Yeah, they are. Could you imagine them getting on a machine and thinking about Assassin's Creed? Be more accidents. Yeah, I don't not really sure I want to be working alongside somebody that's really good at being an assassin, to be honest. Maybe I'm linking fact and fiction a bit too much, but I don't think that's a great recommendation for a job. I really don't. A couple of things. First is this disconnect. Does anyone remember there was a Not the 9 o'clock news sketch where Rowan Atkinson played a very crusty old High Court judge, and there was a guy charged with theft, and he'd stolen a video recorder, and he stopped proceedings. What on earth is a a video recorder? And they had to explain it to him, and then he stole a digital watch. What on earth is a digital watch? And they had to explain. That's the House of Lords. Is anyone in the House of Lords, and I realise this is a committee within the House of Lords, but is anyone in the House of Lords really, really up to speed with the educational benefits of Minecraft? I'm thinking probably not. And I know Anthony Bamford, Lord Bamford as was in the House of Lords for a while and probably dropped a few conversations about backhoe loaders and telescopic handlers. But do we really think that the lords on high in this country, the highest court in the land, as it were, are sat there ruminating about the construction skills shortage? Do we really? And do you really think they've got their finger on the pulse of not just the industry, but what the young people of today will respond to? I don't think they've got a freaking clue. I really don't. And I think this suggestion of Minecraft and the Sims and everything else, I think that's an example. And I will go back to this point. And I've got to admit, I'll put my hands up. I'll accept some of this. For quite some time now, we've been talking about the similarities between an excavator controls and a gaming control, and how that might help bridge the gap. Now, practically, I can see it. When we went to Bobcat maybe 4 years ago, they were doing a thing with a remote control from a gaming company. So you basically slotted your mobile phone into it, and you could operate a skid steer loader using just your phone and this controller. And Fred, who has never, at that point, had never operated a machine, picked it up, and within 10 seconds, he was driving a skid steer. Dead. He said it was completely intuitive, fully understood it, didn't need to be trained. Perfect. The problem with that is that we had been invited as a guest of Bobcat to their headquarters in Debris in the Czech Republic. Little Johnny or little Betty, who calls their kids Betty these days? But the kids coming out of school now do not have that exposure. So yes, they might be quite happily sat in their bedrooms playing away on Minecraft or The Sims or whatever it might be. But at no point are they thinking, I wonder if this is the same as operating an excavator. I wonder if it is. Perhaps somebody would give me a chance to try it. That's not happening. That's a conversation that's not happening anywhere. Andy Darvell. I mean, I wrote about 1,000 words on this, but Andy Darvell gets it done in 5. What a load of shit. Just let the kids into the shows to see and touch the machines. House of Lords, go take a long look at yourselves. Yeah. Now, and again, this is no fault of Hillhead. It's no fault of Plant Works. But we've got the House of Lords who know squat about kids, about video games, and about construction skill shortages. They are, they've handed down their edict. And they handed it down. I mean, the embargo was lifted at a minute past midnight last night. So they've handed it down while there is an exhibition taking place, an industry exhibition taking place right now. The doors are open. The sun is shining. There is an exhibition taking place now that could and probably would inspire quite a lot of the next generation, but they're barred. If you're under 16, you can't go. That is a huge disconnect. And it makes no sense to me whatsoever. And I was thinking about this last night. You could, I think it may have been Dan Cullen suggested keeping a Hillhead or a Plant Works or something like that, keep it open on a Saturday. But on the Saturday, maybe park the machines up. Or, as an alternative, I mean, there's a lot of space up at Hillhead. Maybe put in a grandstand, so if kids want to see the machines doing their thing and whizzing and whirling and loading and dumping and digging and everything else, put them in a grandstand, safe distance away, barrier up, so they can sit there, big can of Coke in their hand, watch the show. Out of harm's way, not causing any problems to the operators, not causing any harm to themselves, but they could do that. Instead of which, our solution is ban them. Child! They have no idea on construction or video games. No, they don't. And it's a long while since I've played a video game. It is a very long while. And I know they do their very best to make them intuitive. But even going from one game to another, or one games console to another, if you go from PlayStation to Xbox or vice versa, or if you go over to Nintendo, all of them are slightly different. The game requirements are slightly different. The fact that you're very good on a PlayStation doesn't necessarily make you good on a Nintendo. And if you're good on a Nintendo, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good on a Komatsu or a Caterpillar or a Hitachi or a Kobelco. It's madness how they compare construction to gaming. The more I think about that, and as I say, I've been guilty of it, and I do get it, and I do get it, and I understand why I was keen on that metaphor. You're used to doing these buttons. Well, those buttons exist on it, and I do understand that. But I'll go back to a comment that sadly no longer with us, former NFDC president Paul Brown said to me many years ago. The NFDC had just taken delivery of its first high reach simulator, And it was a big deal. It was quite a bold thing for them to do. I think they did it in conjunction with Volvo, if I remember rightly. But it was quite a bold thing to do, and it was to enhance their training and everything else. And they were all very excited about it, and I was quite impressed with it, even though the first time I saw it, it went wrong. But that's a whole other story. But I said to Paul, who he called a spade, what do you reckon? And he said, there's one big problem with that. What's that? He said, the problem with that is if you go wrong, you just press restart and you carry on. You don't get a restart in real life, because if you go wrong, someone may be dead. It might be you. And that has really stuck with me. And going back to that analogy of, as we've got there from Dan, construction and gaming being similar. Is that actually a message we want to portray? Do we want children to think, oh, it's like a game? Yes, it's whizzing about on these big, heavy vehicles. And no. I mean, the actual physical buttons and joysticks and levers and all that, yes, there's a similarity there. But don't bring your gaming attitude over. And are we thinking that through? When the House of Lords hands down this edict of, encourage children to play The Sims and Minecraft, should there not be like a disclaimer at the end of that? And while they're doing it, make sure they're aware that this isn't real. And if you do this in construction, people may die. Are we doing that? The same industry disconnect is apparent with the CLC's recent mental health joint code of practice, which is well presented in a content that doesn't apply to over 90% of workers at the coalface. Yeah, I've not had a chance to watch it all. I know my mate Andy Stevens has had quite a lot to say about that. I will catch up with that in the very near future. Chris Monk says, I could talk all day in schools about the merits of a career in the industry, but the funding to progress that is being cut by the day. CITB are killing the industry they're supposed to be supporting. There you are. Surely that would be, I mean, I talked about academies and all that kind of thing, but surely some kind of formalized and organized outreach program. You have people like Chris Monks as an example, industry ambassadors, regional ambassadors that go to schools and colleges, maybe starting them literally as they arrive in high school, so 11, 12 years old, and they go in and they talk about it, and the routes routes into the industry, routes up the career ladder, what it will mean, the camaraderie that goes with it, the money, because you can earn a decent screw in construction, you really can. Surely that would be a better way, particularly if you had the right kind of ambassadors. You imagine, somebody sits there, and I was 11 years old once. It doesn't really apply for me because I was quite a cocky kid, but you imagine, you're 11, 12 years old and you sat there and there's a bloke on the stage in your school talking about how great demolition and construction is. And you don't want to be that guy. You don't want your friends laughing at you about asking a question. But imagine if that guy, that ambassador, left behind a business card with an email address, so that kid who was actually quite inspired can drop him a line afterwards and say, I didn't want to say so at the time because, my mates would have laughed at me, but I'm really quite interested in this. What do I do? And then strike up that relationship and mentor them through, lead them not into temptation, but lead them into construction. Over on Instagram, our friend Jamie Tavu has just arrived and said, morning all. Morning, Jamie. Gaming skills react instantly. With construction equipment, it's pause, assess, check blind spots, confirm ground conditions, and communicate. I mean, the communicate one, I know a lot of the people that play games now have got headsets and they talk to each other. So there's a degree of that. And I'm trying to be, balanced in this. But that pause, assess, and check blind spots, that doesn't exist in gaming. That's a non-real thing. The army adopted game controllers for drones in the field because they found the soldiers took to them instantly. And I do think, as I said with Fred, he took to the game controller, was operating a skid steer from a distance quicker than if somebody had sat him in one and said, well, that button does that, that lever does that. He was doing it in seconds rather than minutes or hours. I do take that. but that's still not a preparation for the health and safety. I mean, things like blind spots that were mentioned earlier. Mick Norton says, video games have no physical feedback. Machines communicate through feel. Again, modern controllers, you do get that haptic feedback. You get a bit of vibration, but a bit of vibration is a lot different to, fuck me, this machine feels like it's about to roll over. That's a very different thing. And as somebody that's rolled a couple of machines, that gets your attention. Andy Thornton said, you would think the latest geofencing and AI safety features events could set up machines that want to be heavy plant machinery. Users could have a go in relative safety. You would, wouldn't you? Or, just not even going that far. Think about Hillhead. The face at Hillhead. I've said about the idea of shutting all the machines off, which does remove quite a big deal of the inspiration that they would offer. I've also suggested a grandstand, which again, it's quite good. But imagine if all of the machines on the face at Hillhead or Plantworks or anywhere else were geofenced, human form recognition on them, so that people could, I'm not saying walk amongst them, but they could be, up close. But if they get too close, machine just switches off. We have the technology that we can do that. Instead of which, we decide we have a blanket ban. No children under any circumstances. What we're actually saying here as an industry is we want young people. We want them to fill our seats. We want them to drive our brooms. We want them to be traffic marshals, and we want young people. Not yet. If you come anywhere near us before your 16th birthday, you're nothing but a hindrance and a danger and an inconvenience. We don't want anything to do with you. Oh, you're 16. Oh, come here. Let me tell you about the fantastic jobs we have on offer. By which time, most kids have said, fuck construction. They want nothing to do with me. I want nothing to do with them. And besides which, I've been playing games for the last 15 years. I can code a computer now. Why would I want to fanny around on a dirty demolition site when I could work in an air-conditioned office with a subsidised restaurant and a colleague who wears a miniskirt to work? It's easy maths. Mick Norton says, a poor decision on video games restart. In construction, a poor decision can injure or kill. Yep. And again, I mean, I realise that we're not going to take somebody from Minecraft and say, you do Minecraft. Here's a construction site. Go and do your worst. We're not going to do that. I realise there will be sort of foundation and competence training and all that kind of thing. But again, Minecraft has none of that. You basically have a plot of land and you decide, I'm going to build the Sistine Chapel. And there's a lot of coding and a lot of fanning around, and there you are. Never mind the people that actually work around you, and the fixtures and the fittings, and making sure everything's safe and secure, and you've followed all the regulations. And no, here's a plot of land. Here we go, Sistine Chapel. Bosh, no, job done. That's not like construction. It's not like demolition. It's not like mining or quarrying. It's a different thing. And to suggest that they are the same, just as I say, it just underlines the disconnect between those sat in their ivory tower looking down, saying, they seem to be short of young people in the industry. What do young people like? They like games. Maybe we could link the two together. If they really wanted to short circuit it, they should have just said, what do 16-year-old boys like? Well, tits mainly. Let's find a link between construction and boobs. That will get their attention, but no. Jamie Tovery says, it's sad to sit here and listen to a room full of seasoned experts raise points I've heard raised since I arrived around 6 years ago, and nothing's been done about any of it. It's why I haven't bothered to raise the issue, he says, of my jammed seatbelt and complete lack of dust suppression here on site. Third day of a heat wave. Yeah. Oh, listen. There'll be a sign probably somewhere on your site that says, stay hydrated. Stay hydrated. Probably won't offer you any water, and no additional heat, dust suppression. You just crack on. And because we all know, dust on a construction or demolition site, that's completely harmless. That won't destroy your lungs in 20 years' time at all. A video game can't replicate the arse-clenching moment when inertia moves a 20-ton excavator. No, it cannot. And a bit of a buzz through a haptic control, as I say, is not the same as that. Oh, I fucked up. I've overreached here. As someone that's done it, it's not the same thing at all. Blame is an issue with all this. House of Lords are disconnected, and yet they are offering their thoughts. The CITB regularly offers their thoughts. The industry offers their thoughts. But as Jamie's just said over on Instagram there, nobody is joining the dots here. You've got, we are still, when I went to school, when I was at high school, and I wasn't the smartest kid there, but I was all right. It's okay. At no point was university even a remote dream for me. I working class Londoner background. My career path was basically laid out. You did your exams at 16. I kind of held off because I went off to college and did some more exams and got a few more qualifications, and then I went to work. I don't know. I mean, there was like 30 kids in my class, and there was 4 classes in my year. To the best of my knowledge, out of that 120 children, none went to university. We gave rise to plumbers and car mechanics and chippies and bricklayers, and somewhere in the last 30 odd years, we've got it in our head that university suits everyone and is the key. And one of the things that frustrates me, and I'm sure this is the same across other industries, I started as a journalist. I did go through journalist training school, but I started as a journalist with basically an O level in English and an O level in English literature, but that didn't really count. So I didn't have much in the way of qualifications. I knew my way around spelling and grammar. I could tell a good story. I'm quite curious, and that was it. That was the toolkit that I brought to my first magazine. I'm curious, and I know where full stops and semicolons go. That was it. I'd only been doing that job for about 2 years before my employer started to insist upon degrees for young people coming into the organisation. And unrelated degrees. One of the guys that I worked with, he arrived, and I remember this very distinctly because, we had, qualified civil engineers and architects working for the magazine, but they just had their name on their business card. This guy came straight out of university and wanted his university qualification on his business card because, I've earned that and I want those letters after my name. So they relented and I said, okay, we can have the letters after your name. And I actually said to him once, letters after your name, what's your degree in? Or philosophy. No, because, that's really going to stand you in good stead writing about diggers, isn't it? He lasted about 6 months before he went on to something else. But there is this insistence that children get to the age of 16 and they're packed off and sent off to, or packed off rather, and sent off to university to do 2 or 3 years there and come out with a degree because that's what employers want. I think if you really scratch the surface in demolition and construction and said, okay, we've got one child here. Here's Billy. Billy over here has been to university. He has a degree in modern politics. He's got a degree. And then you've got Johnny over here. He's got a couple of GCSEs, but he's a grafter. His dad used to work in construction. He's driven a digger before. Which one would you prefer? Do you want the political major, or do you want the one that actually knows which end of an excavator goes where? And yet we have all, as an industry, as a nation, we've bought into that. Even those that are not even remotely academically inclined, Oh, university. You must consider a university. Hand them a fucking spanner. Hand them a sledgehammer. Hand them a chisel. There you go. Tools of your trade, fella. Go and knock yourself out. Chris Ford says, I don't know about connection between tits and construction, but I've come across plenty. I'll leave that on the screen rather than actually saying it, because YouTube does get upset, but well done, sir. Well done. A young person with gaming experience may have potential, but they're not naturally suited to plant. No, they're not. I mean, in truth, I don't think naturally suited to plant is necessarily a thing. I think there are some, particularly if it's in the family trade, if you grew up on a farm, or your dad had a demolition or construction company, and you'd been around diggers, you'd seen them working, you'd smelt the diesel, and I think you would be more naturally inclined. But I don't think that's a natural thing. I think you've got to be trained, and that, as much as I like it, that's not the route. It really isn't. Andy Darvell says, I was and still am a gamer. Not so often nowadays. But when I was preteen, I had Tonka toys. That's where my love and passion from plant came from. RC plant is brilliant nowadays. Get kids on them. See, I mean, I mentioned Lego. I grew up playing with Lego and Meccano. It didn't lead me down that path, I grant you. But surely something tactile, something physical, like a Tonka toy or a Lego set, surely that's more akin to construction than Minecraft. That's a good one, Chris. Yeah, well done. Hand-eye coordination is a useful skill to have, but more importantly, a bit between the ears is also helpful. You don't have to be a brain surgeon. No, you don't. But the ability to look, listen, learn, follow instructions, there's a lot to be said for that, I would say. Farming and construction, similar. Yeah, they are. Yeah. And again, I mean, I think if you really trace the history of a lot of the construction companies, or a lot of the people that are working in construction, they will have come up through the farming ranks. I mean, I think I'm fairly sure Nigel Williams came up through farming and then hopped over into construction. He is just one example, but I think if you've grown up around mechanical equipment, tractors and combines and that kind of thing, to make the leap from that to an excavator or a wheel loader, not particularly hard. Much, much easier than making the leap from an imaginary world of Minecraft or The Sims into an actual demolition or construction site. My message ultimately, I guess, is you folks over in the House of Lords, I know you don't listen to plebs like me, because why would you? But you've not got it right here, fellas, and probably ladies. You've not got it right. You've missed a trick. Ryan Lee, good morning, Ryan. Haven't seen you for a while. No one should be near any kind of management in demolition until they've done 6 months on the ground. Ryan, agreed. And that used to be the case, didn't it? Particularly with a lot of the family companies. You look at some of the people that are very, very tippity top of this industry now. They came up through the ranks. They've pushed a broom and they've put diesel in machines. They've topped up the oil. They've changed filters and stuff like that, and now they are a director or managing director, possibly even the company owner, but they know what it's all about. They've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. Dan as well, yeah, Dan also came from farming. There you are. Years ago, plenty of plant operators were ex-farm lads. They were. Ryan Lee has just said, me as well. Yeah, he did exactly the same. Up through the ranks. 100% sir today. I see men getting SSST cards and done 8 weeks labouring. Jim says the two go hand in hand. He's talking about construction and farming. You're absolutely right. Video gamers suited for plant operations. Exactly the sort of idea that CITB, CLC would come up with, gets announced at a conference and then gets buried after 6 months. Yeah. Here's the absolute truth, right? And I'm glad you said that, Mick, because that's kind of lurking in the back of my head. This is an announcement, and they've made it doubly seemingly important by putting an embargo on it. I received this on Wednesday, and I wasn't supposed to talk about it until today. I know I did, but I wasn't supposed to talk about it today. So in all likelihood, because it's come from the House of Lords, if you search hard enough in the higher brow newspapers, Times, the Telegraph, maybe the Mail, maybe the Express, there will be mention of this, this edict from the House of Lords. It will come to nothing. Because there's nothing actually formalized there. It's basically said, encourage children to play Minecraft because that might make them interested in architecture and construction, but nobody's going to monitor that. Nobody's going to say, okay, well, let's do that. Let's start putting Minecraft in schools. And what we'll do it for 12 months. And at the end of the 12 months, we'll actually see how many children that have been on the Minecraft server then take a career over into construction. That won't happen. There won't be any check. This is just something they say just to say it. There's no substance to this whatsoever. Jim Turner says, I've always had a foot in both camps. He's talking about farming construction. This is nothing sexual, just to be clear. Dan says, hang on a minute. How so many of these people think they can be a supervisor for multiple men and yet only have a few months on site? The problem with that, in my opinion, is not the people that are 6 months in and are now a supervisor. The problem there is the person that gave them the promotion to make them a supervisor with just 6 months experience. Nobody in their right mind, I think, is going to turn down a pay rise and, I've got a fancier job title. I'm now a site supervisor. I've got a different colour hard hat, got a little badge that says it, got a new set of business cards, and I tell people what to do. Nobody's going to turn that down. The question is, why have you promoted and escalated somebody who is still green, still hasn't really lived it and breathed it? There you are. People, I am going to have to call it a day because I am so hot. I've got a light up there that gives out no heat, but it's literally like it's cooking my head. Lee Mansfield says, my mum and dad had a farm. When they sold it, that's when I started up my own digger business. Yeah, there you are. There's another one that came up through the same route. Mick Norton says, Lord Gascoigne, that's not Paul, by the way. Lord Gascoigne, the committee chair and self-described gamer, said games that let players design and build cities are a great bridge to real-world construction and planning careers. All right. Okay. Lord Gascoigne, you clearly know things that we don't. Jim Turner says, playing on plant is just as much a crack as playing on tractors, but plant is slightly better. Fair enough. Dan saying, have a great day, lads. No more sweaty arse cracks. Well, I think we've got one for the rest of the day. In my experience, only the drivers that can't do the job get promotion. If you're good people, need you in the seat. Yeah, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We have this weird thing in the publishing industry. If you're a good reporter, you become a senior reporter, and if you're really good, you become editor. And the day you become editor is the day you basically stop writing. So we've taken you, we've promoted you because you're really good at doing a thing, but stop doing the thing and tell other people to do the thing instead. Jamie Taveri says, industry has and continues to shoot itself in the backside. It's taken these shortcuts, putting people, i.e. friends, into positions they're neither suited or experienced for. All very, very true. And Jim Turner, just going to finish off. If he had to choose between plant and farming, he's going plant. But it's a tight one, I think. People, I need to go and lie down and cool off. Have a good day, everyone. Try and stay cool. Try and stay hydrated. I'll be back tomorrow, and I promise you, I will do the morning monologue that I wrote almost a week ago that I still haven't done. Mick Norton's suggestion here is placing a frozen bag of peas in your nether regions can ease the heat extremes, but might get you banned from Tesco's. Fair enough. Hang on a minute. That's the Peter principle, apparently. People are promoted to their level of incompetence. Yeah, I understand that, but why have I had to work for all of them? That's what I want to know. And the job is just a game, but one we get paid to play. There we kind of part, because I realise it's the plant game. I realise it's a construction game or the demolition game, but it's not a game. And I don't think that the House of Lords Building Committee have fully grasped that. Everybody, go and have a fantastic day. Back tomorrow for the final show of the week with more of the same. Till then, everyone, have a good one. All the best.